Demanded that he should score for Liverpool. Salah to settle in front of the Kop. Vicious cross, Mane! Alexander-Arnold, it's running!
From doubter to believer.
It is officially the period of the year where we have no idea what day it is or what the date is, because it is between Christmas and New Year's, and that is the social black hole that a gooner friend of mine likes to describe it as. It is a social black hole, but this is the LFC Couch. I am your host for Statisfaction, Nick, out of Western Sydney on this Tuesday evening. And there was no West Brom Statisfaction because I completely forgot that we had a game that day, and I was a very busy boy. I've been DJing a lot in the spare time I've got at the moment with the festive period. There is a lot of gigs to be had. A lot of people are partying, and I am there to help them party on. So, yeah, been a busy boy. And so has everyone else, because we've been trying to get together to organise ourselves for a good pod, but it seems to be not happening at the moment. That's no fault of anyone's. It's just, it is what it is with the period that we are at the moment. But in saying that, the period that we are at the moment is also the period of December going into January, where Liverpool have normally struggled a little bit in previous years, especially under Klopp, whether that be from fixture congestion, whether that be after the festivities. But we are top at Christmas, third year in a row. 1 year that didn't work out. Last year worked out just fine. And fingers crossed this year it'll work out even better for this particular instance. But it's not going to be easy sailings, especially when you're picking up 1-1 draws against a very, 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 very defensive Sam Allardyce side. But what else could you expect from a Sam Allardyce side? He comes in to do a job and he does a job. Granted, we were probably poor, giving away possession where we shouldn't have. Corners were given away needlessly, which is where we conceded our goal from, and maybe some defenders could have done better. If only some players could stay fit and uninjured as well, that would be something. I mean, what an actual world that would be. But enough waffling. Let's get down to business. We are taking on Newcastle United away at St. James's Park at a somewhat berated Steve Bruce's Steve Bruce Newcastle team, who are being touted as playing a very defensive game against us. 5 at the back, 4 in the middle, lone Callum Wilson up front. If that's going to be how the game will go, who knows? We haven't played it yet, but it is a couple of days away. It is going to be Thursday morning for us, which would be New Year's Eve down under in Australia. It would be the 30th for everyone else around the world if they are watching. It is the late game, I believe, as well. So it's going to be a game that we can potentially stay up and watch, or the early game, depending on how you see it. This could be the 7 a.m. kickoff if you're in Australia, or the 8 p.m. kickoff if you're overseas in the UK, or in the Northern Hemisphere for that matter. So Newcastle United is our opposition. Let's have a quick check at them first. Their run of form has been okay. They've had a win against West Brom. They were beaten by Leeds 5-2. They had a 1-1 draw against Fulham. They lost to Brentford in the EFL Cup. And they lost to Manchester City just the other day 2-0. The Manchester City team that didn't play their match against Everton the other day due to COVID, even though the Premier League stated before the season started that all teams would still be playing even if COVID was a factor or a reason that they should not play unless they were unable to field 14 players for their first team, which I think Manchester City are more than capable of. But you know, if I was to get my tinfoil hat on, I would say that Manchester City are doing this to try and buy themselves a bit of time and rest and recover their players, but it would work against them because they'd have more games to play in a much more tightly congested period. But anyways, I'm not here to talk about conspiracies and Manchester City, here to talk about Newcastle and our Liverpool Reds. So that's Newcastle United for the moment. That they were meant to play, oddly enough, Aston Villa as well at the start of this month, but it was postponed due to COVID as well. You can make up your own mind on that one. don't really know what to tell you, but that's what the situation was for Newcastle. So there are some players missing because of some after effects or some effects that have not gone yet from the whole fiasco. So we'll get into them shortly. But as we said, the Newcastle team, that's their current form, guys. So a win, few draws, a couple of losses here and there as well. You know, they've scored goals from open play, more of their goals from open play, some penalties, a couple of set pieces, so not really strong on the set pieces, but I think their open play in a counter-attacking sense, I think that's where they're looking dangerous because they do have some pace up front. Notably, you got to look for Callum Wilson to be scoring the goals, but they also have a couple of players who can, you know, really get into you, really get in your face. Alan Saint-Maximin is actually out, unfortunately, because of COVID issues. But then you've got Almiron, who can come at you. He's a bit of a pacey player. You've also got the likes of... what's his name? Bloody hell. Bloke came from Bournemouth off-season. Forgot his name. Damn. Forgot his bloody name. What was his name again? Ryan Fraser, that's right, Ryan Fraser. So, but I think he's out as well. So it might not be as bad for Liverpool looking at it in that way there, but Newcastle still can be a very defensive side, very dogged, and may cause us some headaches. Of course, playing away from home, not always our, hasn't been our happy hunting ground this season. Only one or two games, and the big one against Palace, which was our last away game, 7-0. Amazing that was. But anyways, enough waffling about Newcastle. That's the story there. For our Liverpool Reds at the moment, where we are at is we've had a 4-0 win against Wolves, a 1-1 draw against Midtjylland, a 1-1 draw against Fulham, a 2-1 win against Tottenham, a 7-0 against Palace, and a 1-1 against West Brom the other day. So our next fixture after Newcastle is another tricky one, away to Southampton. And former Red Danny Ings most likely will look to add to his goal tally should he be fit and firing. And Ralph Hasselhoodle, whatever his name is, I keep getting it mixed up. He'll be looking to see what he can do with his Southampton team against this Liverpool team, depending on what happens against Newcastle. But all the same, still, he'll want to win because he wants to push on for a top 4 finish, no doubt, or a top 6 and get Southampton into Europe, which would be a massive achievement for them. Of course, it would be for many other teams. Wolves are pushing, Villa are pushing. Anything can happen in this league thus far. But, of course, the way we play our games, everyone knows the way we play our games. We like to score goals. We're all about open play. Set pieces haven't been the greatest. We've only had a few penalties, a couple of counter-attacks, and a couple of own goals have gone our way. So pretty evenly based. I mean, we attack on either flank depending on who we're playing against. One flank gets favoured more than the other, but in saying that, it all depends on who is the opposing fullback on the day itself. Now, moving on to the potential lineups for the team here. We know that Matip is out for us. He picked up a abductor injury. I keep forgetting which one it is, but it's the one inside in the groin area. That is the one that's inside. I think that's the one that probably hurts more than the other. But we do have Fabinho still in there, and young Reece Williams, or mini Virgil van Dijk, as some of the couch members like to call him, came on and deputised, and unfortunately his wayward-headed clearance led to the corner in which Ajaya, I think his name is, scored for West Brom, and maybe not the best of moments for young Reece Williams, but it's a learning curve nonetheless, and arguably Alisson could have done better, but whatever. The freakish header, heads it, hits the post, bounces out, bounces on the ground in front of the goal, and then spins in. I mean, wow, what a freaky goal to concede. But anyways, backline's probably going to be that. Trent will be playing again. And you probably see the midfield. The midfield is the most interesting one here because Naby Keita again injured, just like Matip. I mean, who the hell would have thought? We were praising him just the other week. He completed 90 minutes and he's injured again in training, most likely, because he didn't play a game after that. And who the hell knows what is going on with baby Keith. Although maybe he played against Fulham. It was against Fulham that we played. No, it was Palace last that we played. Yeah, and then West Brom. So I don't know, man. Don't know what the hell is happening with baby Keith at the moment, but it is one of those anomalies with some players that we have. Again, in saying that the midfield is not as bad as we had it only a couple of weeks ago, with Oxlade-Chamberlain coming back. Curtis Jones, of course, is available as well. He was playing the match, and I think Wijnaldum will probably most likely be in there. Henderson's also obviously probably most likely going to be starting here, and I think Ginny, again, he's a player we need to monitor to make sure nothing happens to him, because if he goes, then I think we have a real issue in our, maybe our midfield or our defensive midfield side, because Fabinho's playing centre back at the moment, because big VVD is still out for the foreseeable future, and I think it's going to be one of those games where we're just going to see rinse and repeat from the last few games. Team's going to be defending and looking to spring us on the counter attack, and we're going to have to be on our game against this Newcastle team, who don't score many goals, but still, it's a Newcastle team, and you don't want to be losing away at St James's Park to a Steve Bruce side when they're playing with 5 at the back and 4 in front, shielding a lonely Darlow in goals. Now, the only other thing is, the interesting thing is that Thiago is potentially going to make his long-awaited debut for Liverpool FC for the 2021 season. Yes, that is a joke. We know he played against Chelsea and absolutely bossed it. I think the most everything for a player in one half of football. Absolutely amazing. But again, it's a maybe. It's not a definite. We don't know if that's actually going to be happening. If it's not going to be this game, it might be the next game. But it is nice to know that he's absolutely very, very close to coming back. Our front three, in that case, I'd probably see one of these players maybe drop into the bench. I don't think they're going to miss out completely, but they will drop to the bench. So you've got any of the three, Mane, Salah, or Firmino, depending on which one do you want to give a rest to. If it was me, I'd probably give a rest to Mane and play Minamino out wide, or switch with Salah, or see Chamberlain in the front three, and then you can play Minamino in the central role in the midfield. I mean, there are some options Klopp has got. I don't think it's all bad. But without James Milner and without Naby Keita, I think it might be a little bit of maybe an easy decision to make as to who plays where. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But of course, you've got Curtis Jones as well. How can we forget Curtis Jones? Shaqiri, he seems to be back in business as well. And I think that's not a bad thing to have. Shaqiri can play in that front three role as well. Come to think of it, you probably have Shaqiri on one side. You're going to have Salah centrally, Mane on the left. If that's what happens, if you rest Firmino, maybe. So there are some options there. At this point, I'm just waffling on. For the Newcastle team, not much to be said, really. Some players are out. That is Ryan Fraser. As mentioned, with Newcastle having that COVID issue earlier on in the month, that would be affected St. Maximin and Jamal Lascelles, who are still out. And not sure when they'll be coming back, but they are definitely out for this match as far as I can see here. But Paul Dummett and Jeff Hendrick, they missed out on the City loss just the other day. But there could still be a doubt, could still be having some injuries that may be stopping them from making their return. Jonjo Shelvey, former Red, will be looking to play in this game. He might be a bit of a doubt, but he's probably looking to make his way back if his groin injury doesn't stop him from being out in this match here. And Callum Wilson looks to be starting. As I said, he's their goal scorer if he can play up front and try and nab something on a counter-attack. If Almiron is also on form and he's able to sprint past one of our tired defenders, touch wood, could have some work to be done for Alisson in goal. Now, Jamal Lewis, Longstaff and Manquillo, they're also potentially going to start, and most of these guys would be backs. I mean, Manquillo especially, same as Jamal Lewis at left back. But the midfield isn't half bad. Longstaff, Ritchie, Joelinton has been a bit of a disappointment, but he's been better in recent moments. But again, in saying that, who the hell knows what Newcastle's going to come up with. But Ryan Fraser looks like he's going to be out for this one here. But as I said, Shelvey potentially coming back for this game, playing against his former club. So as it stands now, we have scored 3 goals in our last 4 matches against Newcastle in all competitions, so we're good to score some goals. Liverpool have won 5 of our last matches against Newcastle in all comps. We are undefeated in our last 11 matches in the Premier League, so that's not a bad thing at all. And Newcastle have seen over 2.5 goals in their last 4 matches against Liverpool in all competitions. So as I said, we're good for a few goals. Now, with the starting lineup, I never get them right, so I don't know what the hell's going to happen. But if I can just say anything, I think our defense will be okay in this game. It's going to be more so our midfield and our attack on how we're going to break down this Newcastle team, who will be defending deep. 5, 6, hell, just go 10 across the whole back line, why don't you? Just stop Liverpool from playing in any which direction, and you might see them try and jag something on a counter-attack. I think we'll still play our normal game. But if we have Thiago back, that'll be a massive boost for our midfield, and that will actually allow him to play some balls into spaces that only he can see, and perhaps Mane, Salah, Firmino, or Chamberlain, or Shaqiri, or Minamino can all run onto those balls, latch on, get a shot off target, and score some goals against a potentially, most likely, almost certainly, very, very defensive Newcastle team. I don't know what the score is going to be, but we are going to win. There's always that slight hesitation that this might be a draw, but I think after the West Brom game and Sam Allardyce coming to town, I think Liverpool might have wisened up a little bit and thought, you know what, we can't do what we did against West Brom again. We really need to start, get it being more clinical and playing some passes through, and maybe a little bit more 1-2s to get us through the defense and the blocks. We'll see what happens in a couple of days' time. And that will be that for that. Now, it is going to be on New Year's Eve for us in Sydney. We will try and endeavour to come together and do a post-Newcastle podcast. I think I keep forgetting. Curtis Firmino and I will be available at some point during the day in order to make that happen. And we shall bring that to you so you can listen to it on the 30th, after the game, straight after, or when you wake up on New Year's Eve, if you are keen on listening to some post-Liverpool action. And fingers crossed, touch wood, we end up winning this game and we can go back to being some points clear at the top of the table, because as it stands, the table itself is pretty tight up there. It's looking very congested. We're first on 32 points. Leicester second on 29. Everton third on 29. And if they played City and they won or drew, they'd be coming second. So, but Manchester City and Aston Villa, both having played 14, have at least a couple of games in hand. 27 and 26 points respectively. Same with Chelsea on 26, Tottenham on 26, Manchester City on 26. So that's between 5th and 8th. They've all got the same points. Then you've got Southampton in 9th on 25, West Ham, 22 in 10th, Wolves, Leeds, Palace, Newcastle United, Arsenal still in 15th, even after that big win against Chelsea, Brighton, Burnley, Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield round out the bottom 3 team. So that's where it's at, ladies and gents. Hopefully I haven't waffled on for too much. I still managed to waffle on for 30 minutes. Go me, what an amazing feat. But this is Statisfaction, looking ahead to the Reds, going away to St. James's Park, up in Geordie Town to take on Newcastle United. Big 3 points coming our way. Fingers crossed it happens. Touch wood, no further players get injured. And touch wood again, that Thiago, if not starts, makes an appearance and makes a damn difference to this squad, because, man, we're going to need it if we're going to be playing against defensive teams for the remainder of this season, or for whatever is left of it, unless COVID comes and takes over again. But I am Nick. This is the LFC Couch. This is Statisfaction. Peace out.